Time to wing it. Show notes. We don't need no stinking show notes.
Ooh, a new way to open the show.
Oh, I'm so inventive. Oh no, what will we do? Hello, good morning. Oh, this is already being. I get to talk about this today.
Somewhere on here.
We're having issues. Oh, what the?
There we go.
I almost thought my mask was stuck to my hair. Good morning.
Welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow.
The continuing adventures of Liz and Rebecca. I'm Rebecca. It's our Monday. I'm the owner.
Monday.
I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in overcast and chilly Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm Liz. I'm the minion there.
Yep. Anyway, so I'm struggling with this.
Project.
I finished a project, but then I blocked it, and now it's being saggy. But although I do think the inside
really
is
looks
cool
inside, outside, upside.
I know that's the only saving grace of this is like the inside looks really cool too. So I guess we could start there. I'm giving my newly finished sorrel sweater a break because I wore
it all week.
All week last week because changing out my Sun Dragon shirts underneath, of course, because it was so comfy and I love it. So and I would wear it the rest of the month until I finished another sweater, which I have a story about that. But that gets boring probably for you all, although it fits so well. It's so nice. Look at how far you, okay. But anyway, we're going to get to all this. Okay. I think that's great. Considering how much we were slavishly working on our papillons. That's another thing too. Okay.
Neither one of us is competitive.
And as the old folks like me will say, you believe that? I've got a bridge in Brooklyn I want to sell you. Okay. So I finished my project. I'm trying to finish a project a week, which in theory was like, let's finish up some old projects. But that I started some new short ones so I could get them done. And I think a couple days last week, people got to see this almost done, right?
Yeah, you finished it.
We filled time with showing them off. This is the stellatum cowl. Oh, and actually right there you can see, I think where it looks a little funky is where the beginning and end of round is. So let me turn it to here. Stellatum cowl. It's by Fiona Goberstein. Stein. I don't remember. I have to see it written to kind of know that. It has, I'll show you again. It has these cool little flower looking stitches in it. And it's got I-cord top and bottom. It took less than a skein of the flower color, my green here. And I was a little bit yarn chickening with the purple. But 50-gram skeins, one of each. And the I-cord edging was curling majorly when I made it and just took it off the needles. And see, it'll still do it a little. So I blocked it, and in blocking it to pin it to help the I-cord top and bottom not curl, it got a little looser and a little floppier. It's not as springy. And it is not superwash merino. It is just merino. So I cannot throw this in the dryer to tighten it up. But I'm trying to convince myself, like, look how cool the inside of this looks.
Inside looks
The inside looks pretty cool with the technique that is done. You get these elongated stitches on one row with the green. And then the next row, you let them get longer and you do 5 stitches into the gaps of all 5 of the elongated stitches. And so it pulls the elongated stitches in, and then you do stuff into it, which makes 5 stitches that go out, and you get this cool spiral looking thing. So this is the small, oh, look, it's not flopping. Maybe, I don't know which is top and bottom, because you do a provisional cast on and go back and release live stitches so you can have an I-cord edging on both sides. Maybe one side is just firmer than the other, or maybe it's because my ponytail is holding it up in the back. But I was going to say something before I was distracted by that my cowl was actually staying upright. Oh, this is the smaller size. There are 2 sizes that is written for. If you want to make the one that's slightly extended, it's not quite long enough to wrap around twice. It's not twice the cast on of this. It's like one cast on is 130 and the other cast on is like 200 something, but not 260. So the other one would be just not as tight around your neck, more relaxed.
Drapey.
Drapey. Wonderful word. But if you want to do that one, you're going to need more than only 250 gram skeins, one of each color. I have visions and dreams of making kits, but we'll see what the day holds in terms of when they get done. It may not be today. We got to restock or rethink some of our kits that are online because people keep buying stuff. So
it's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem to have, but then we need to have time to put together more kits and photograph them and alter the color so it's actually more accurate color and put them up. Yeah. So so this is the one I finished. And then do you want to talk about the one you started? And then we can talk about our competition.
I started, I want to say it's the Milky Way shawl.
Yes, that sounds right. Because it was like galaxy stuff.
Yeah, it's a crocheted hat shawl.
Mm-hmm.
I started a couple of hat shawls like a while back. They are squares in the middle.
I was going to say, can you explain what a hat shawl is?
A hat shawl, it's a blanket that you fold in half diagonally and wear as a shawl. They're like super warm and snuggly.
It's a huge rectangle, but you can make it into a triangle shawl.
Yeah, in like the Shetland Islands, they stretch them out and they're almost see-through, but then you fold them in half and they're just all warm and snuggly.
Which is right in your wheelhouse.
Right in my wheelhouse. But knitting them takes a long time.
Do you think crocheting is going to take...
If I
it's still going to take a long time.
It's still going to take a while, but like...
Is that how wide it's going to be?
This is the inside square.
Yeah.
So with a lot of the knit shawls, you build the square like this.
Mm-hmm.
And with this crocheted one,
I was going to say, I think you might have half explained this
build
and I wasn't paying attention.
In a square up, and then you go around and it has the crocheted version of feather and fan. That's all the way around it.
That's right, the outer edges of it.
The outer edges of it. And then she has a sew-on lace border. I'm probably going to not. But because you crochet the lace and then you sew it on.
That's a lot of work.
There's
got to be a way to make it without making it separately.
Yeah. So I'll either leave it just the ripple for the feather and fan, or I'll find a pattern that
she'll
fudgeable pattern.
Mm-hmm.
But the it starts with a foundation single crochet. That's right. I found this really good video because I was not paying attention when my boss was teaching about it in class. It's super easy.
It's this really cool video made by someone we know.
Anyway.
And she sat here and watched the video while I was putting yarn away, and then she's like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Okay, good. I can keep putting yarn away."
So the border I think is double crochets, but the inside square is a rice stitch half double crochet. It's all half double crochets, but it looks all textury and it's squishy.
And the yarn,
so
my gosh, look at that stretchy squish.
Oh yeah.
The yarn she's using is one of our most popular colors of Fiber Space Vivacious. She's using the 4-plat, which is
using the fingering weight.
It's deep aqua and it looks blue on our screen, but you know, take a shot of that and turn up the warmth on your camera or on your, you know, your filter or whatever. That's what
it called for fingering on a G hook. And we all know that that's a little small. So
for me, small for her.
I am doing it on a J, which is,
7?
I'm doing it on an I, sorry. On an I, which is a 5.5, or for knitters, it's a 9, which is my happy place.
5.5 millimeter.
Anyway, so yeah.
I mean, the sweet spot for Liz is really a 6.5 millimeter. But, you know, 5.5 is close enough.
5.5 work. Well, most of my littler papillons.
That's true.
And by little, I mean they were done on a 9 instead of a 10.5.
Fingering weight on a 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. So
So I started that on Friday because I have 6 colors of Lorna's laces. I had to buy a couple of them. Three of them. Anyway, they're gonna make the perfect little fade on the outside of this.
Just gonna fade.
Well, not kind of fade, but it goes
coordinate.
Anyway, it looks just so cool.
Voop voop.
Voop
Yeah.
voop. And so one of they're purples and greens. I didn't bring them in with me, but they're purples and greens, which like thistle colors, yay! Mm-hmm. But one of them is speckles, and it has the tealy the tealy blue. So I decided that the whole inside and the borders on the outside are going to be the tealy blue with all the purples and greens. So we'll see how it comes. But then on Friday night, my boss was working on her papillon.
Okay, so I have to. It's not a competition; it's a friendly rivalry.
It depends on who's winning as to whether it's a competition or not.
You keep saying that.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay. No, I think on Thursday we both talked about goals for the weekend. And I think Papillon got vaguely mentioned. Was like, yeah, we probably should work on that. So like most of all my, I don't even remember because I don't go back and watch our shows. But I want to say that our goals included like finishing my other cowl I'm working on and getting my sweater, maybe the fingering weight one, to the separation of sleeves point. And my stay out of the forest shawl, which I did work on this weekend, but none of my goals were met because we kind of both started focusing on our papillons.
You also planned a cowl that is
using the leftovers.
Leftovers. So you were like, I've got to finish this so that I can have the leftovers to do.
I'm still not done, but I'm getting really close.
So
I've got everything but the pink of the colors that overlap between the two. I'm through all the colors but the pink, which isn't used right away in the cowl. So I could start the cowl, but now I'm like, I really am gonna fuss with this because this is the problem.
So close.
This is the problem filming and like looking at what we're filming is I'm gonna fuss. I'm so close. I really should just finish, but these rows are so ridiculously long. And see, at least she gets some knitting done while we're filming.
Friday and Saturday, she was a row and a half or a stripe and a half ahead of me.
And then I didn't work on it during movie night, which is Saturday night with my stepson, because I need something I don't have to look at or count too much during movie night, because he likes to have all the lights off, because mood, right? And we watched Wonder Woman 1984, which meant there were some parts where I wanted to watch the screen more than my knitting. But so I worked on my stay out of the forest shawl, which I will show you later. Let's talk about papillons first. But yeah, most of my knitting time this weekend was on most of my crafting time, because I did some crochet, was on 3 things: papillon, stay out of the forest, and a crochet along craziness that I'm doing that, is just kind of for fun. And involves watching
so
the video.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll pull that out in a second. So, you gotta wait for that. But let's talk about our papillons and where we're at. And yeah, all of your colors, which were very distinct, I'm looking at them they're sitting right here. They're all kind of blending right now.
Yeah.
But that still means they're cool.
I started with like 4, and then I went up to like 8, I think, just because I found random colors at home that I was like, ooh, I could throw this in too. So
every bubbly row, you're switching colors, right?
Yeah.
You're going to we're both doing the moth variant of the papillon, which has a few sheets you print out and use side by side with the actual papillon pattern. And if you want to literally follow the instructions, my watch is telling me to breathe. I thought I was. Maybe I'm talking too much. If you follow the instructions given, she says, okay, use like what, 6
colors and a pop
and a contrast, and use them in a certain order for all the bubble stripes, and like change them when she tells you to, and add in little embellishments when she tells you to, blah 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 blah. And I'd say that just because we do what we want. I'm following. I mean, it's wonderful. I'm not dismissing any of her Marin's stuff because it's awesome, and that's why we keep making these. Liz far outpaces me. I'm on my third, but I have to make other things for the shop to inspire you all to. I could just make everyone make papillons like me, but not everyone wants to. They should. They're really wonderful. But so I'm trying my first true moth variant. I started one with only two colors, like contrast and kind of mottled color, and I stalled out on that one. So this one, I actually picked all these different colors. You've seen it if you watch the show. I am following the instructions and changing colors when she says to. Liz, however,
I've done at least two that I did the 6 colors in the pop, and I like that. But Feederbrook this time was like, it's one I haven't done. So and
then you were having such fun with not wanting to plan colors.
And yeah, it's like I'm not planning. I'm just kind of going. I mean,
instead of like colors 1 through 6, it's which color would look cool now.
The craziest thing with the Feederbrook, and I'm like halfway done, so I can pull out a wing and show you, or at least bits.
You gotta flip it inside out or something, because I mean, she could show you the backside, but it's
so the craziest thing with the Feederbrook is it changes color as you knit. So like up at the top, my bubbles are all pretty close to what color I started
with. We've got lighter and darker, but they're still the same tone on this stripe. Yep. And maybe I can't follow there. Yeah. Okay. But then as
they're close. But I found that as I got further and further in, this purple bubble has a red border because I started with the leftovers
you do a long
of the
row
coral.
And then use back and forth as you come back, and so it can change from one side to the other.
This green is same yarn.
That's really cool.
So like my pods shift color all the way through, but like as they got bigger, I couldn't look and go, okay, I really want to play with this color. I had to play with like an inch of color in the ball. So it's like, where am I going to get to? And you're never really sure. It would look fantastic if you picked all the same colorway,
just one colorway and
joined and just
how many balls, because again the pattern is written for fingering weight. This is DK. This is like twice as thick. So how much do you think you'd need? It only takes like a skein and a half of the fingering weight, but that's still like 600, 700 yards.
On size 9 needles, I know that I need just slightly over 4 balls of worsted weight. So
okay, which is 220 yards a piece. So we're talking about 1,000 yards.
I ran out on my red and black one. I had 4 dedicated balls of the main color, and I ran out before the pods were, or like I didn't have enough to do the pods.
So for a worsted weight, which DK is not far away from that, so plan on like about 1,000 yards of, and if you're changing colors, then you got to figure that. If you're only using one color, plan on like 1,000 yards of your main color, and maybe half that of your contrast.
It takes over a ball. Like this is my second skein.
Yeah.
And I will have plenty left over, but it takes one ball ran out before my pods row.
Yeah, but the rows are so long.
So
maybe 300 yards, 1,000 yards to 300 yards ratio type of thing. And these are 260. That one's a lot more yards.
This is 300 and something. Almost.
So maybe
you're still gonna need maybe 2 like balls,
400,
or a ball and a 50 grams.
Or something. Yeah.
You're gonna need.
That's right. I forgot.
More than 1 ball.
Yeah.
Of your main.
This stuff is like 263. I want to say. So you probably need. Yeah, you need 4. You might have extra, but you need 4.
I know that like this ball is pretty much dead. This ball is pretty much dead. I could probably do a row out of that. This one might be a row and a half. You could probably get 2 rows out of those. But
it's so funny because those are These two, you mind me touching?
No.
These two are different colorways down there, but the outsides of them are kind of matchy right
Yeah,
now.
and that was the hard thing is
Yeah.
like I had blues and I had greens and I had purples and I had roses and oranges.
It got hard to start
It got
contrasting.
hard to start picking. Like if I started one that was definitely in a green, I wound up with a purple.
Yeah.
And
that got harder for me
Yeah.
too. Sorry.
well, your night shift is
That's
the
what I was about to
same.
say.
Yeah.
There were parts of my night shift where I got beyond the pattern and was just randomly selecting colors, and it got hard to say, well, which one's going to contrast the most? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's going to change because the rows are getting really long. That's part of what I'm excited about with my Melanie Rice. I'm doing a whole bunch of Melanie Rice's patterns right now just because I felt like it. And she's like, I'm so honored because I posted on Instagram, so shout out to her. And she didn't pay me. She doesn't want. She's not like, hey, will you do my stuff? I just like her stuff. But the shawl I want to start once my cowl's done is a triangle top down, but not like top down. It's like top down. So one of the fun things hopefully about that is every row will get shorter.
Yeah.
So as I start, I'll be like, oh my gosh, it's taking forever. But when I finish, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm almost there. It's getting shorter. Yay. Because that sometimes is when I lose the will to knit, is when there's pros and cons to both. If you start small and get bigger with a shawl, which most of them are written that way, you get to learn the pattern when there's a small amount of stitches and get comfortable with it. But then towards the end of it, you can lose the will to knit because the rows are so long. Oh my
Depending
gosh.
on the pattern, I start crocheting.
Oh yeah, that's right. She loses the will to knit and crochets the sucker and gets it done. But so this other way is as you go, it gets shorter, so you can be like, get energy as you get finished because it's more manageable rows. But you do have to start with a freaking long row. So I'll keep you updated on that. I do have to finish the cowl before I do that.
It is a slightly different triangle shape than the start and work out, where those have a wider.
They can. It depends on how
many gradually
yes
you decrease.
The classic, like the Papillon is like a fancy version of a classic triangle top down shawl that increases at the edges and in the middle.
Yeah.
So and it has this like slant to it. Like I did a tips and tricks video on this where I talked about that a little bit.
Longer bottom and wider edges.
Yeah, your rows get longer, but and it can expand faster because you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4. Ones that start bottom up, which is kind of the same as this one that's starting really wide and narrowing. It depends on if they are only increasing every other row or like only one stitch every row versus increasing every row. Like we have on the triangle, the top down ones, we've got 4 stitches added every other row. On a lot of the triangle ones that just have a triangle shape without this slant, without a spine in the center that has things going on in it, you tend to only have either like Pearl Soho's triangle garter wrap. You're increasing 1 stitch every row. So that's like 2 stitches every other row. That's still slower than a top-down center spine triangle shawl. I've got one. Well, that one's got a center spine too. Never mind.
It is some of
If
them
you were,
have a shallower angle.
The steeper.
Yeah.
Or if it's every row, like when we get to my cowl, which I'm getting ahead of myself. I should talk about this first. When we get to my cowl is increasing rapidly because it is it's actually a top down again too, but it is increasing 4 stitches on the right side row and 2 stitches on the wrong side row. It's increasing on the edges on the back side and the edges and the center on the front side, so it's like which is great. But what that can mean if you make a shawl that way is you end up with a shawl that's not super deep but is super wide, which for people who want to wear their shawls like a scarf can mean less bulk here, which some people like. If you want to wear it wrapped around your shoulders, it might only be hitting your shoulders and not much of your back. So it depends on how you want to wear it, you know. But I digress. because we were talking about papillons.
Yes.
And so Liz, you are just after your pods, which is at the very
I'm
end.
doing the row 5 right after my row pods. My pods row. I have a go back across it, and then I get to start all the fancy work at the
here
bottom.
is a stretched out, not moth one. Here's actually a moth one down here. I'm trying not to show the pattern too much. And those bubbles, see right there? Those are the pods. And Liz has done her pods and is doing her rows after the pods. I have what?
I have a quarter of a wing left to do on my row 5, then the row 6, and then I get to start going from 400 and whatever to 1,000.
Which her instructions, I think, say I'm going to probably do that in my contrast, because I think that's what her instructions have the end craziness after the pods all in contrast, which is great because I got a ton. I went into it. I'm doing 50 gram skeins of each color. I had to go into a second skein of the gray, but I have leftovers of all my other colors, and I will have leftovers of the gray. I have just finished section. This is section 30.
So cool.
Doesn't that look cool? I have finished section 30. It
doesn't show up as cool on the camera.
No, but it's really cool. This is right before the pods. So Liz is several rows ahead of me, and that's fine. I mean, I'm a faster knitter than she is, but we are both distracted by side projects. Because I was thinking, when did we start this project?
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago?
3 or 4
Time has no meaning because it's always been March, but now it truly is March again. So it's come full circle.
2.0.
March 2.0 or March squared, whatever you want to call it. I saw a meme online actually that was like, oh, God, find the picture now.
I just sucked 1 year of your life.
Tell me how you feel. And remember, be honest. This is for science, so be honest. It's like a guy talking to a girl, and he says, "You got a lot of nerve to show your face around here again." And written on her suitcase is March. Yeah. So March is just never going to end, and now it's been proven. But so 3 weeks in, we have both almost finished. I think maybe by next week, if we really focused on this, we could get it done by say Thursday. But I don't know if I'm going to work on it during knit night because I'm still counting.
The hardest thing is I told Rebecca, she's like, I might, quit working on it as much when I'm on that the bind off rope.
Yeah, the bind off.
And it's but then you're so close.
I know.
It takes almost a whole day by itself to bind this off.
Well, and I was thinking if we had been monogamous knitters on this project, we probably could have done it in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
Or less.
Oh yeah.
But I have to work on 6 million things at once.
Yeah.
But I love now that the pod puckers a little till I block it, but the moth eye is an addition to the moth version. But now that I've got the bubbles, the red and orange square bubbles above it, I just love how that's sitting. I think that's fantastic. So I picked, we have a color palette in the Amano Aini, which is technically a sport weight yarn, but it's a light sport weight. So it's almost like a fingering weight. And I am on size 5 needles instead of size 4, like the pattern's written. And we picked colors from that palette, so it's not like a true gentle fade. But it's colors that start light and get darker. She kind of indicates might work well. And I'm on a 60-inch cable, which is not nearly long enough right now because remember, my row is like the bottom edge for both of us. It's the bottom edge of this shawl. But it's my best attempt. You want to grab that for me?
Yep.
Just hold that up. See, I can't stretch the whole thing out right now because it's on the tips of the needles, right? But I could, I can try to let you see half of it, and you can imagine what the other half looks like. That's what I had to do to take pictures recently.
And just a quick note here. You do not need a 60-inch needle.
No.
Rebecca uses it for picture purposes.
Which again, it's too there's too much to stretch out to show you. But my Stay Out of the Forest shawl is even longer right now, but I can jam it all on a 40-inch. you're working on 40 inch, right?
I'm working on a 40 inch, and if you jam all the 1,025 stitches on, it's still, even in worsted weight, only takes up a quarter to half the needle. Like it's.
But I'm also sorry, I knocked one of your yarns on the ground. Good. It's so hard to show this off right now and show you how pretty it is. Like, I'm just gonna hold it like this and let it drape. The corners drape.
It's really hard to lay it out before you get
I've seen people do it on the Butterfly Knit Along page, and they must have another cable or take it off the needles, which is terrifying for me. But 1, 2, 3, and then we've got, like, I can't see on the camera because 4, 5, and black is my 6, and then pink is my pop. So it's just looking so gorgeous right now, and it's so close to being done. And I did show you this before. I was holding this splayed out so you can see it kind of that way.
The Pokemon ball looks awesome. Once seen, you cannot unsee.
It's like I hope either Thursday, but I don't want to rush us and like put expectations on us, or next Tuesday we can be showing off our fully finished
Tuesday for definite, because even if we have it done by Thursday,
I might actually want to block mine. And
Liz
doesn't block hers, but
yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna work on it tonight.
But in here, as it all gets, the colors in here, the pink, the teal, the aqua, the teal, the blue and the darker purple are all going to be in the Fair Isle cowl I want to make, which I don't have a picture. I haven't printed it out yet, so y'all just have to wait in suspense. I still haven't gotten any further on like, I got some bright colors. I got all kinds of colors. This one's got a very like jewel tone, blue tone, purpley tone to it. The cowl is going to use some of the lighter colors in the Amanu Aini color palette. It uses 9 colors. I'm not using the gray from this or the black from this or one of the purples from this. So like even out the palette. But
your cowl also recommends, if you have partial skeins left of different yarns,
it's a great stash buster.
It's a great stash buster, because
it's like 10 grams, 12 grams,
7 grams. Some of them are even less than that.
It's also written for fingering weight, but I think the Aini can be a good substitute for fingering weight if you need a bold Fair Isle. Like, I'll show you as I go, right? The other project, I haven't even unzipped this one yet. The other shawl, big, huge shawl I want to show off that I'm almost done with and I'm so excited about. So Spunky Sheep, shout out to Julia, said, hey, you want one of my fade packs? And I would describe this more as a coordinating color pack. Because a lot of people, when they think of fade packs of yarn, think of things that gently are close to each other or speckly with each other, so you can intermingle them and not even notice kind of where you change colors. You can totally tell where I change colors.
Those are really, really, really hard to do.
Those are, yes, which is why I normally avoid them, because that means having such a range of colors in the shop that we would need 3 to 4 more times space to make enough coordinated color packs of different types of color for things to work. So this is on, I haven't taken it off of, hang on, I got multiple projects in here, I think. It's not a thing.
No.
That can wait for a minute. I'm so close to finishing this, but oh my gosh, I counted 525 stitches currently. And this, every 4 rows, you are adding 20 stitches at this point, which is like, oh my gosh.
That is craziness.
Craziness. But I'm down to, I started with 4 colors. I'm down to only 1 color because I've gotten through the other 3. To show this one off, I had to put it on a long stitch holder, cable stitch holder, and 2 needles for the camera. And I'm a little concerned that even holding this up to show it off, it's going to pop off some of these needles. But so let's see. Hey, Liz, if you can grab this gently.
Oh my gosh.
And I will grab that. Look at that.
Wow.
Look at that. Isn't that cool? And it's going to be smaller than the pattern's actually written for because I miscalculated with my yarn. And I'll let you all know the original pattern gets to like, it's only supposed to be 4 skeins of a sport weight, but I think, and see this the stitch holder over here, you can see that one has memory in it, and the other ones don't because they're Chowgu needles. Yay! I think they were more yardage on the sport weight that they used because, or maybe when like changing colors to make sure the fade works, you lose some yardage. So I had to switch sections a little earlier than I planned to, but it's still growing awesomely. It's supposed to get up to way over 700 stitches before it's done. Mine may not make it that far. I haven't weighed this recently, but I'm imagining I can only get about 10, 20 more rows out of it. It's fantastic. Look at that. So 1, 2, 3, and these are all the same size skeins, but what can do the center here, because there were fewer stitches, that gray is the same amount of yardage. And then, thank you. And then this brown gray has the same amount of yardage, got through less because it's getting wider. And then I have this lovely rose gold at the end. We are getting in kits some point in the next month where it's got the same top 3 colors with a different accent color. We've got sets with different accents. We'll get a couple of these and a couple with maybe some teal and a couple with like a real gold, mustard gold. And then I think this one's with some bright green. Fun. And we'll be getting them in limited quantities, but I'll get more if they sell. This one, part of the reason I keep going back to knit this, and again, this chevron is amazing for the coordinating colors. Stay Out of the Forest, if you look up the pattern online, has a fade. And so these stripes will be much more gentle, a little bit more like down here to fade between colors. But I actually like with the chevron pattern, the boldness of colors that are different. So one of the reasons I keep going back to knit this one is because it's an alpaca, silk, and merino blend, and it's so soft. It's so soft and wonderful. Like, it makes my alpaca and silk of the Aini feel a little sad. But that's still soft too. So that's one of the reasons I want to keep going on this and finishing it. And I have no idea. I kind of feel like I'm not going to have enough blocking mats to really truly block this. I'll probably have to get creative and maybe put my mats together with some holes so I can reach where it needs to, but we'll see. I would love to finish this one though, but at 525 stitches a row, it's taking me a good 10, 15 minutes to get across a row. So even with a quick knitter. So we'll see, but I really want to finish this too, but I need to finish this. And this is already at 400 something stitches, which means when I go to something with shorter rows, oh my gosh, it's such a piece of cake right now. Speaking of that, because I have 6 million things going on.
Yeah, I worked on this all weekend.
Mm-hmm. But now she's ahead of me.
I'm ahead of her now, so which means
and
it's just a gentle competition for me.
It's a no, it's a it's a competition race, and it's a friendly rivalry for me because I'm not winning. This is how far I've gotten on my Ashes and Soot. This is part of my Melanie Rice series. Like, every time I finish something, I will start another Melanie Rice project right now. And this has, look at that. Isn't that fun? That's all done with elongated stitches and cables, like short cables, 1 stitch to 2 stitch transfer. So I'm using my Brittany Birch cable needle because I don't need to take massive amounts and hang them because they're moving quickly. But there's about, depending on the size you want to make, you do 5, 6, or 7 repeats of all this. And this is the one that's getting wide quickly. You can already tell that, right? I think I'm going to do 6. I'm like in the middle of my 5th repeat, and then there's a 6th one. And then I get to go to a slightly different section. It's where the edges start changing a little. And then there's a border. So, and this is out of Fiber Spates, but not the fingering weight, the Vivacious. She's using the fingering weight for her crochet. The Vivacious DK. I'm going to do her whole January Winter Haze series out of 1 yarn because it can work for DK or worsted weight patterns. It's going to be beautiful. Stay tuned. Start your own. Yay. We just got a whole bunch of Fiber Spates Vivacious DK in. So check our website to see the quantities, because you could have checked a week or 2 ago and gone, oh, they're out of that color, or they're really low on that color. We got more in.
We got more in.
So that is what I'm working on.
And believe it or not,
all these grays.
Rebecca is not the biggest backorder of fiber spades.
No. I love using it. I have to often be convinced not to use it and knit from a few other things.
We've had quite a few knitters lately come in going, I want to make a sweater. Ooh. And it's gone.
Like my I'm not wearing it today sorrel is knit out of it 6 skeins, and yeah, it's gone. So another thing I worked on this weekend, I didn't work on any sweaters. It's weird for me. It's like I discovered socks and was like, I'm gonna make so many socks. I'm wearing the one pair I've made. I started 2 more pairs, and
she got several sweaters done. I'm gonna make sweaters for the rest of my life.
No, I do want to finish my sweaters, but these have caught my attention. I was just a week or 2 ago, I was like, so shawls bore me.
Oh yeah.
And now I'm back into
I'm
shawls.
never going to do shawls again.
I didn't say that. I might have implied that. I didn't say that.
That was the mood at the shop.
Okay, so the other thing I was thinking, let me just look at new crochet stuff. And this is not new crochet, but I think a newer part of it was released. It was started last November. It's the Chrysalis Throw, and it was advertised as a make-along, a mystery make-along. It's a crochet along kind of. So not kind of. I mean, it's crochet.
There's other things in there besides just crochet, didn't she say? She
said like tapestry crochet. There's adventurous crochet techniques. I don't think like there's any knitting in it though. No, but it's like it's not
like the embroidery.
Yeah, I haven't hit any of that yet necessarily, but we'll see. So it's really fascinating. So there's like 3 parts that have been released, and I'm still in part 1, and I'm finding I don't think it's necessarily that she's not a native English speaker, but she's talking about the weather in her videos. And if it was in December, I think it was warm. So she might be in Australia or somewhere. So her terminology is different than some American terminology. She has like hours-long videos that go along with the rows. And I'm finding it very helpful when I'm like, what does she want to do? To watch the videos, because the videos will often go into much more detail and show you exactly what's going on. So for anyone, she describes it as something for an adventurous beginner or intermediate crocheter. I would just take that to an adventurous crocheter, period, because there's a lot of funky things, awesome things, but funky things happening. Here's how far I've gotten. Look at that. We picked, okay, so she wrote it for a specific yarn that's like an acrylic or acrylic blend, because it's going to use like 5,000 yards of yarn by the time you're done. More than 5,000 actually, closer to 6,000.
It's a blanket.
Yeah, so throw like a small blanket, like a blanket you could chuck on top of yourself watching TV, right? Like maybe a personal size blanket. And so we went like, what can we use here at the shop that's about the same weight? I think it was written for maybe a DK that won't break the bank. And so we worked on a color palette that's roughly adjacent. It's very different colors than hers, but like where there's a blue, we picked a blue. Where there's a green, we picked a green. And we made up a color palette of, there's 8 colors involved and multiple balls of each color. We picked it out some, like, because if life gets slow at the shop, we pick out colors for a project. And what? 2 Cascade yarns we carry that are mostly acrylic. One is Cherub Aran, which is an acrylic and nylon, DK weight, and one is Pacific Sport, which is DK and merino, very soft.
Sport weight and merino. You said DK.
No.
Or okay, acrylic and merino.
We both went to the weight when we shouldn't have. I kicked that off. I meant acrylic and merino. Mm-hmm. Sport weight. She's absolutely right. She caught one of my errors.
Yeah.
I did 2 things wrong there. I said DK when I should have said acrylic, but it's also a sport weight instead of a DK.
Yeah.
So she focused on the weight part.
They're close enough that we've had other knitters that have used them interchangeably. Crocheters use them interchangeably.
There actually is a Cherub like DK. Like technically Cherub Aran is supposedly thicker. but I classify it as a DK weight yarn because that's how it feels and knits to me.
Yeah.
So this one is the Pacific Sport, and this one is the Cherub Aran. And I really think, yeah, especially with crochet, they can absolutely be used interchangeably. You can tell by examining it that maybe the Pacific Sport's a little thinner, but not by much. For 100 grams, the Pacific Sport is 273 yards, and this one's 240 yards. So it's a difference of 33 yards, which is not a whole lot. Neither one of these, unfortunately, is on our website. Someday it's going to take a lot of work because lots of colors to photograph, but someday I will work on getting them up on our website. For now, call the shop if you want anything or you want us to pick you out some fun things with this. But I want to, this is just absolutely fascinating what I've been doing with this, because there have been weird things on the back that then things on the front get connected to. Rows from up here get connected to rows down there. These little things were made separately, like this part and this part was made independently before the blue part was done, and then the blue part is latching into it. It's a distracting adventure, and it's thick and squishy, and when I do make a blanket out of it, it will be one I will only use when we lose heat at our house. But it's been really fun to make.
Because you might die of heat exhaustion.
A little bit. These little guys were made by themselves, and locking them into place, I should have watched the video and I didn't, so I had to kind of fudge some stuff later. But I wanted to keep working on this yesterday, but then Liz told me where she was on her Papillon, and I went, oh poop. And I furiously knit on my Papillon, and I still didn't catch up to her.
So. We both have had, at one point I stopped to give her time to catch up because she was working on other things, and then she got ahead of me and I went, that's not cool.
Oh, yeah.
And so yeah, we have an appointment coming in soon.
Yeah, the little alarm thing came up. We have an appointment in 10 minutes, which means we should probably start wrapping up, because there's a lot of crap on the table where our appointment should be. And people have been notoriously showing up at least 5 to 10 minutes early for appointments, which we used to get really upset by, and now I get upset by only when it's really inconvenient for us. Because sometimes it's not, but since you never know if it is or not, please try to arrive when your appointment is. I know that's frustrating if you drive from a ways away and you get here early, but that does not guarantee, because you have like a 10 o'clock appointment, that we can let you in at 9:50.
Yeah, because today it's going to take us a while.
Yeah, and we got to clean all this up. And like we have a 2 o'clock appointment, and then I have someone coming by at 2:45 to have something examined to maybe fix. And you think that's enough time, and it's not enough time. Anyway, so hey, join Tales of Yarn everywhere. Join us for Sit and Stitch tonight. Sit and Stitch, virtual Sit and Stitch tonight, 6 to 9 p.m. on Zoom, Eastern Standard Time, with our shop phone number, which is 828-877-3550. We had our first Zoom bombers on Friday. Those of you who were there were either entertained or horrified. And they just got loud and used words that sometimes are only okay if they slip out of us.
If you drop that many stitches off of your,
you might let a word go. So new policies when we let new people in. We love new people to join us, but we will ask you to turn your camera on, and if you're not meeting up with, hey, how'd you find us, and turn your camera on, and we might kick you out. But anyone watching this is not going to get kicked out because you have a reason to join us. If you're someone who's being loud and wants to draw pictures, and
it was Christy that joined right after the
no, but it's something with a K. It was Carrie. No.
Ooh. Shout out! You're in Houston. We love you.
You had Harris, I think. Yes.
You joined us right after
that,
the yarn
and
bombers.
then had problems with your camera, and it was so awkward.
And
really
the reason you got to stay in, and we loved it, was you were working on your cowl, and everybody went, "Oh, she knows what a cowl is.
Yeah,
she's cool."
Yeah.
So.
But no, we might just be like, hey, yeah, so if you join us, we might ask you to change your name so we know who you are instead of like a generic iPad. and just screen a little more once we let you in. But just say, hey, I saw you on YouTube, and we love new people to join. Anyway, it was an experience. Let me say. So 6 to 9 tonight or Friday night, you could join us, and that would be wonderful. Our monthly sit and stitch is on Saturday afternoon. Is not until March 20th. Tomorrow is
the most dangerous show of the week.
Yep. And where we will figure out something that will give you 15% off on.
We can't even give you spoilers because we don't know what it is.
There's no spoilers because we haven't decided yet. And then Thursday is Dear Becky and Lizzy. If you want to ask us questions that we will answer sometimes more fully than others, depends on what the question is. You can write us at Dear Becky and Lizzy, Sun Dragon Art and Fiber, 35 South Broad Street, Brevard, North Carolina, 28712, or look in the description, or
email me, liz@sundragonartandfiber.com.
Okay, we gotta go.
Yep.
Have a good Tuesday, which is our Monday, so that explains half of what happened here today. And
Kind of.
we will see you tomorrow. Bye.